sorry, a little delayed with the. Am I allowed to drink a little tea that I am drinking or no?
Yeah. Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. We are back again.
Hello.
Mukesh. Hi, Mukesh. Hi, Ui.
Hi.
Good
Very
to
well,
see you
thank you.
here. Yeah, good to see you here. And we are looking forward to a very interesting session. We had to start an hour earlier than we normally do because I'm well aware that the time in Japan is rather late. What is the time there?
It's
9:30.
9:35.
9:35. Okay, so 9:35 p.m. And I'm so glad that you could stay up and join us. Okay, so for the others who are logged in, I think you are a familiar face, but even then, I would like to introduce you formally. Mukesh Williams is a professor who has been a part of Melow right from the beginning. Even when we were Melis India, he was a part of us, and he's held important positions, also executive positions with our society. Mukesh teaches global and Japanese literatures at Soka University, and he writes for Japan Spotlight. That's all that he gave me in his brief bio, but we know that he's a very accomplished person, professor, academician, creative writer, photographer, and so much more. Thank you, Mukesh, for joining us today.
Thank you, Manju, very much.
We have Teramoto, Dr. Teramoto, and she is an associate professor at Soka University, and she handles South Asian issues. Now, they are going to talk about certain Japanese texts in English and Japanese. And it's something that we are not really familiar with because these are texts by Yukio Mishima and Kansuke Naka, the texts that deal with India. So, because it's a totally new field for us, we'd be all ears, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions at the end because this is something, that we are not familiar with at all. So the format that we follow is that you engage in a conversation with each other. Is that okay? And yeah, and tell us about these authors, about their texts, and also about the India connection in their texts, right? So over to you, Mukesh and Teramoto. And when your conversation is over, then we'll open it up for discussion and any question and answers that may follow. The entire session usually takes about an hour. So over to you both. And once again, thank you so much for being a part of Melow Musings. This is the 24th episode, the last one this year. Over
Thank
to
you,
you.
Manju. Thank you very much for organizing this wonderful event. And your energy kind of enthuses me and makes me feel that I should do a little bit more. I feel a little embarrassed.
No, you're
But
doing so much. You're doing
thank
so
you.
much. We learn from each other because I've seen the way you have been grooming, you have been mentoring students in Japan, bringing them over to India every year, and some of our conferences also. I wish you would do it again sometime. Well,
Thank you.
maybe. Why not? Yeah.
Do my best.
Okay. Great.
So, what we would like to do in this at this moment,
Yes,
you can say a few things, or would you like me to ask you a few questions? How would you like to do?
Oh, since any style is fine by me, we could
Okay, then in
begin
that
by
case,
talking about, yes.
I would like you to read, as Manju has suggested, that many people are not aware of the Japanese literature. I would like you to read a paragraph, the first paragraph in Japanese of Naka's story, and then your translation and some of the problems that you encountered. Then we go to the next thing. Is that good?
Sure, Sensei.
Okay.
So, good afternoon to you all. Thank you very much for Manju Mom, as well as everyone here who's participated to this wonderful gathering tonight. 1 hour earlier than usual. I saw some familiar names of professors, Professor Roshan, Professor Mishra. Thank you so much for being here. As Mukesh sir suggested, I would like to begin by sharing with you the translation. It is an ongoing project for me. Of the work written by Kansuke Naka. I've been translating this short story titled as In the Shade.
Remember, 1 hour is there in question and answer, so just go
I will be
straight.
very quick. I'll be In the Shade of the Body Tree, published in 1929. So, so I will skip the first paragraph and as this is a short notice, and begin by the second paragraph. Once upon a time, there was an old sculptor called Narada in the city of Amaravati in India. He had always been a mediocre sculptor, and the region was teeming with abundant skilled sculptors. Therefore, he was leading a life without any scope, though managed to scrape a living. After the completion of his work, he also possessed, like others, he would say to himself, with his nose in the air, I cannot sell this away easily. But as days went by, his hot ear changed to sigh. I wish if mine would be sold around 10% higher. Narada had one daughter whose age was 14. Her mother was bedridden for a long time due to illness and died in childbirth. Before she died, she entreated him again and again that for the sake of the love for her and for the happiness of the daughter, he should not leave Churananda in the hands of a stepmother. Faithful to her wish, Narada did not forget his promise, and except for contingent help of a servant, he raised Churananda with great efforts, all by himself. In doing so, as any father in his situation would do, he took great care of her and showered her with the same affection that her late mother would have showed. Not only that, he directed the intensity of the love he would have directed to his wife, to his daughter. By doing so, he felt comforted without seeking for its return. So it goes. Shall I stop here, Sensei, and move on to...
The Nihongo de?
So this part, just briefly in Japanese, it goes like this. 昔、インドのアマラバティの位置に、ナラダという老年の彫刻師があった。彼はもともと凡庸な彫刻師であったところへ、一体にその道の栄えたこの地方には、他にいくらも腕利きがあったので、 彼は永年克明に仕事を続けたにもかかわらず、一向に名声らしいものもあらず、したがってその日暮らしというほどではないが、かなり余裕のない方の生活をしていた。しかし、さすがに彼も芸術家にはつきもののうぬぼれだけは人並みに多分に持っていたので、何か一つ仕上げると、それを自らできるだけ高く評価して、これはなかなか安うは売られんわい、と言って鼻をうごめかしたが、それが月日の経つには、決まって、わしのものもせめてもう一割方高く売れてくれたらという短足に変わるのであった。I'll stop here. So this is how the story, this fascinating story begins.
So what I understand that the smoothness and the flow in Japanese just kind of flows like a river or a stream. How much of that is possible to capture in English?
Honestly speaking, Sensei and everyone, the translation is not too difficult in a sense of the flow, because Kansuke Naka in this particular short story has very clear set of ideas. However, there are certain ambiguities that Japanese as a language possess, and we find room for interpretation, feeling in that ambiguity. So that is something that is very difficult for me to translate. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. And many of the readers might wonder why Naka, after so many decades, has not been translated, and what is the tradition that he follows.
First of all, let me explain to the audience who is he when he was born and so on. Kansuke Naka was born in Tokyo in 1885 and passed away in 1965. He graduated from Tokyo Imperial University, studied English literature, and later on became junior high school teacher. And he has a certain training of English texts. So his writings are quite popular in Japan, particularly what is called Gin no Saji, or translated one would be called as the silver spoon. However, not only Kansuke Naka's stories, but many of the Japanese literature are not yet translated. We have very rich tradition of writing in Japanese. And unlike, as many of you are aware of, unlike India, Japan was not colonized. Therefore, Japanese language, the Meiji government kept as our primal language.
No,
So,
well, you mentioned about that this history they can understand and read, but you mentioned that the percentage, nearly 95% of Japanese literature has not been translated into modern European languages.
I cannot precisely talk about
Yeah,
percentage,
roughly.
but this I
Most.
should give, but 60-70% of the works written by Japanese, even though they may be written by prestigious scholars in Japan, are not yet translated. So there are abundance of good literature available in Japanese.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the reasons why. What is the name of that writer? The one who wrote Izuno Doriko. Izuno Doriko.
川端康成。
川端康成。
Hi, Sensei.
Mm.
Kawabata Yasunari got the Nobel Prize, but I'm forgetting all the names. I don't know why. At night, the one who wrote about the Anyway, the point I'm making is that Tanizaki Junichiro didn't get, because many people said because he was not translated into English, and Kawabata Yasunari had been translated into English. So one of the reasons for his not getting was this. I don't know. I do personally, and Kinoshita Sensei also agrees with me that Kawabata Yasunari may be a good writer, but you know, he may not be as great a writer. I mean, that's a very difficult thing to say. You know, but he did get the Nobel Prize, you see. So, lack of translation could also be one of the reasons for not giving Japanese literature the reach that it should get.
Absolutely, Sensei. So I found it important to translate many texts, and this is my small attempt in contributing to the translation. So just to introduce myself, I am not a translator. I am a researcher of modern Asian history. By that I mean modern history of Japan and India. So within this framework, I have encountered a number of notable literary works by Japanese writers that use India as a central motif. So Naka Kansuke is one, and as you would talk about the contents later, Yukio Mishima, Yukaishi, and others have also used India as a motif, but most of them, except for ones that you would talk about, are not yet translated.
Mukesh, I was wondering if, we could ask questions in between, because so many ideas come to our mind, listening to her.
Please do.
Yeah, yeah. For instance,
Yes,
we would like to know why this particular writer, Naka, turned towards India. Because when you talk about Amravati, straight away we think about the Amravati in India. There's more than one Amravati in India. And a lot of stories are connected with that also. So, in the first place, why did he turn to India? What was the reason? It's very clear from what you say that he did study literature in English. So he must have been aware of the tradition of English literature. But what got him interested in Indian stories, in Indian, the culture and so on. And secondly, what about you? Your interest in India and the connection that you see with this particular writer. Maybe you can talk about that.
Thank you, Manju Ma'am, for raising these interesting questions. Firstly, Naka Kansuke's connection between himself and India seems to be not of the direct nature, which I mean, he has never visited India. And as for record, I haven't come across any record which suggests that he had interacted with intellectuals from India. In the late 19th and early 20th century, not many Indians were in Japan anyway, but very small numbers of writers or princesses from Hyderabad, etc., did visit Japan. But Kansuke Naka didn't seem to interact with many, which leads us to suppose that his interest in India is through the Buddhist tradition that Japan has. As many of you are aware of, Japan Buddhism came to Japan by around 8th century. From then, together with Shintoism, Buddhism continued, went through the revival in the 13th century and in the modern times and so on. So in these modern times, Buddhist texts were, some of them were retranslated from Chinese to Japanese, or the Indian narratives Buddhist narratives were reformed into a Japanese story. For example, Ryunosuke Akutagawa wrote a spider's story using
Spider's
similar.
thread.
Yes, the title is Spider's Thread. The motif comes from the Buddhist text. So I strongly believe that Kansuke Naka inspiration also comes from there. However, given the detail that he writes about India, it is very surprising even to me, who has visited India many times, that he knows a lot of places. He talks about river, not only Ganges, but other specific rivers. He refers to the name he uses is not common names of Indians that we know today.
Do you remember any of the rivers that he has mentioned?
Excuse me?
Do you recall any of the names of the rivers he
Yes,
has
yes.
mentioned?
River Krishna, River
Ah,
Godavari,
yes, they're
River
all in
Godavari also.
the Deccan Plateau, yeah.
Yes, and he also mentions about Amaravati city, also Kalingapatam city. So,
Okay.
and he also talks about the god of Yama, the god of death, who is not at all famous here in Japan today. So this suggests that he must have certain interest or connection through Buddhist, through the
Was he a scholar of religious studies or was he a person of literature?
he was a person of literature, English
Okay.
literature, to be
But he got
exact.
interested in Buddhist studies because he was a follower of Buddhism.
I don't say his interest was academic, but generally speaking, in the 19th century, people had shared understanding of Buddhist morals, based on which he seems to have elaborated this short story.
And
So
what is the gist of the short story? What is the central theme of the story? You did read the beginning, and
Yes.
immediately it caught our attention because you're talking about Amravati and bringing in so much of the Indian element. So, what is the story about?
Before
So,
before she talks about the story, let me add to what you had asked.
Yes,
That
please.
for Naka, the tradition of Buddhist narrative tale was available to everybody.
Right.
And as she rightly said, that it contained Buddhist morals of moving away from desire and passion and seeking enlightenment. So the Bodhi tree is, she will talk about that later,
Okay.
is based on enlightenment. So enlightenment is to accept the world as it is. So this gave him the kind of framework. So the story will tell itself. Go ahead, Teramoto.
thank you, Sensei, for this addition. So in the shade of the Bodhi tree, the central focus is to do with the Buddhist morality, volatile desire, and attachment. All three leads to suffering and death. Shall I share the story?
Very briefly, because they want to know the story.
Briefly.
Sure. So in this story, it's a simple story of a young sculptor, Purna, who falls in love with Churananda, the young daughter of his mentor. So this young sculptor suddenly faced a tragedy of losing this girl. So he was desperate to bring her life back to this world. So he goes to pray to the god Yama, and with quite reluctantly, the god Yama
Makes an image of her, sculpts an image.
Yes. Prior to this, the sculptor makes a statue of this lost girl and pray to Yama to bring back her life. So Lord Yama grants the permission and brings her life back. However, he set the time limitation that 14 years will be given to her. But Purna requested that I do not wish to see her die again. I'd like to rather live together. So the Lord Yama splits this 14 into 7 years and gave this lives to each one. So when Chirananda regains her life, she's no longer the same person. She loses memory of her past life. And therefore, Purna...
And she's married.
And she marries
She's married to a merchant.
To a merchant. So Purna is in desperation and with
goes for a pilgrimage, 1,000 miles or whatever it is.
Yes, cross the river Krishna, river Godavari, and he hides himself in the city of Kalingapatam. So he survives from day to day and yearns for her. But the point is that he felt, he regretted that he shouldn't have desired for her life by disturbing the cycle of life and death. So he regrets, and days passed by. 1 year later, he goes back to his hometown and pray to the god again. When he finds a child outside of the temple, who turns out to be Purna and Chirananda's daughter. So he finds her as a gift from Yaba, and also he finds this child as a gift from
you don't have to go into details. You don't have to go into details. But what is the essence of the story? You know, that stays with you. Because when you recall a story, you can never remember the exact details. So never mind that. Just tell us what it is that you take away from the story.
So main message is very clear here. Usually, literally text may not have a clear message, but because this work is a part of Buddhist tale tradition, it suggests that the uncontrollable desires of human beings, if you pursue those desires,
you may get something that you don't really want.
It will ruin your life.
Ruin your life.
Right.
And leads to many tragedies. So very, very interestingly written, texts using a very commonly understood ideas amongst Japanese then.
And what about Mishima, Yukio Mishima? What kind of work can we see with Mishima?
Oh, I think I should leave it to Mukesh Sensei for that.
Mishima is a very interesting writer. He believes in reincarnation. This is tetralogy that he wrote about the sea of fertility. The character is reborn many times. The third book that he has written, called The Temple of Dawn, which is of interest to us. And he visited India in September 1967 for half a month at the invitation of the Indian government. And at that time, he met Indira Gandhi, he met Zakir Hussain. But the point is that he wanted to see India as a beautiful country. That is the image. Japan is a beautiful country. So
Yeah.
he wanted to visualize and see India as a beautiful country. But when he came to India, he saw spiritual chaos
Mhm.
and he saw a resistance to westernization. So the
This was in
Japanese media at this
1965.
time was
In
really fascinating.
1965. This was in
Huh?
1965?
67,
67. Okay.
September 1967.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the Western media at this time was fascinated by the Beatles. They
Mm-hmm.
had visited Rishikesh Maharishi's ashram,
Mm-hmm.
and they wrote this Across the Universe, Jai Guru Deva.
Mm-hmm.
So the Beatles' high profile India trip, it captured Japanese media attention, and it captured Mishima's attention. So there was a wave of esoteric Asian spirituality, and Mishima was searching for his cultural roots in India. But what came out, he went to Calcutta, Banaras, Ajanta caves, and he saw the Kali Puja, worship of Chamandu or Chamanda and Durga. And he saw the sacrifice, blood sacrifices. And I would say that he is very much into the religion of blood. And he committed harakiri or seppuku that we call, as you know, in 70. And his great book, Patriotism, is a very erotic, esoteric work where young husband and wife kill themselves because they feel that they had let down the emperor. So it's a celebrated death as blood is celebrated. And he found the blood and death in India as a ritual of, drama of life, as something which was confusing, terrible, yet very fascinating. So his experience overwhelmed him and sometimes sickened him. So Mishima, but he was fascinated. So this is the line from Patriotism. Before their suicide, Lieutenant Takayama and his wife Reiko made love with the eager anticipation of death. Eager anticipation of death. So it foreshadowed his own death in 1970. So his writing, I find, may not be very involved in terms of society, Indian society, but he's highly involved emotionally in searching for the roots, especially this novel, The Temple of Dawn. So somebody would like to read The Temple of Dawn more than other stories. You want to add something to it?
Perhaps we could move on to the introducing the sure other writers and general.
We have worked on 3-4 writers who had talked about India, and the other writers is Shusaku Endo, called The Deep River, Fukai Kawa, 1993. And it deals with a group of Japanese tourists who visit India in 1984. And this coincides with the assassination of Indira Gandhi, and it is mentioned in it. But that's not the key. The tourist, they are all these 6-7 tourists are searching for something which is missing in their life, and they seemingly find in India. And the story begins with the Ganges River and symbolizes spiritual essence and human suffering. So, but at the same time, Endo is a Catholic, and he wants to combine the Hindu tradition of the Ganga River with the Christian tradition of Mother Mary. And I don't know how far he succeeds, but he sees the sacrifices of Kali and so on as the part of Mary's suffering. And Endo presents the adaptability of Christianity and the Japanese resistance to faith and spirituality.
What is the name of the writer?
Endo, Shusaku Endo,
ENDO.
ENDO, Endo. And the
Mukesh-san,
novel is
shall I-
called Deep River. The Deep River is the Ganges River.
Okay.
So he talks about the swamp metaphor that Japan is unwilling to accommodate different religions and bring together some kind of a syncretistic kind of religion. So, but at the same time, he shows that there's an inhibited priest called Otsu. So he carries dying Hindus to the river, and he feels that God's love is boundless. Ganges River is not about love; it is about moksha, but he sees it as love. So he thinks he gets salvation, not moksha. He dies there. So this is the story, very interesting, and I think that Endo's attempt to capture Indian society and the chaos of Indian society is much more powerful than Mishima. Kinoshita Sensei, I don't know how you think, but what's your opinion on this matter? Is
Sorry?
Kinoshita Sensei with us? He's gone.
Yes, I'm here. I have a question about Shusaku Endos. Can I?
Go ahead.
Switch on your video, please, so that we can see you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Sensei. Just a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sensei, for giving me such a nice occasion. I appreciate. And thank you very much, Professor Williams and Dr. Teramoto. I have a question about
Manju Sensei.
Manju Sensei. Yes, thank you. It's my honor and best pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you. And my question is about the Endo Shusaku's Deep River. Well, I think about once you talked about to me the one of the main characters called Otsu and
Otsu,
also
right.
Mitsuko. So do you think Endo Shusaku tries to show some sort of union of sensual or physical love and spiritual love? I don't know whether it is Christian love or some other religion's love. And of course, I know very well, he's a very famous Catholic writer. But
So
mhm.
very good, very good. Thank you. My
Thank you.
take on this, that Mitsuko, his girlfriend,
Mhm.
in the beginning, Otsu wants to become a priest,
Yes,
and a Catholic priest.
yes.
Mitsuko tests his strength, spiritual strength, by offering him a physical relationship, which he does, and he gives in. But then he goes back again to his spirituality, and after many decades meets her in India. And there he works for the pilgrims, dying Hindus, and himself dies because of some conflict that takes place there. I would definitely say that there is a sense of transcendence from physical love to spiritual love. Something that John Donne was doing it all the time.
Yes, I
The
think so.
flea, the flea, and so on.
The
You are
flea.
a specialist on John Donne.
Thank you.
So I think that is a very important point, that Endo was trying to bring together his own religious persuasion with the Indian concept of moksha. I don't
Moksha.
know how far he succeeds, but he was trying to do that,
Mm,
bring about some kind of fusion.
mm.
That's my thinking.
Mm. Could
And the
you?
text shows that.
Uh-huh.
Text shows that the suffering of Virgin Mary and
Mm,
the blood sacrifices of Kali and Durga are very much the same.
I see.
It would people may not agree with him today, given
Mm,
the understanding that we have of the two traditions and how separate
mm,
and alien they are. But he did
mm,
feel that
mm. I see.
literature can give us an insight
Mm,
into things that we have never thought of.
mm. I see. I heard Shusaku Endo was highly interested in the so-called pantheism,
Yes,
although he was a Catholic writer.
very
So,
anti-Christian kind of. And
uh,
yes, absolutely
mm,
correct. And that's one of the
mm,
reasons for the story, the way it moves.
um, so,
Mukesh, Mukesh and Ui, you see, that was a time when people from the Western world were writing about India in a very exoticized manner. For instance, they would portray India as a land where there are elephants, snake charmers, and magic, and so on. Now, do you find that element in these two writers that you are dealing with? No?
As
Or
for
are they more
Kansuke Naka,
realistic?
he was more realistic, but I wouldn't say that he represents the reality of India then into his story, but rather he used the scene and settings
Mm-hmm.
to 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 show what
Mm-hmm.
is understood as a Buddhist important message in the scene of India.
His work is more of a romance. That's what I gather. Am I right?
I wouldn't call it, there is
A
certainly
love
an
story?
element of romance and love story, but it is not actually about it. It is about this young sculptor's
Yeah.
way of living,
Mm-hmm.
I
his
think more a
desire.
part of the Buddhist narrative tradition that Japan had.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
So
thank you for mentioning about it.
even in Indo, there is hardly any Anglophobia or anglicized perception of India. It is very much Japanese, though he is a Catholic. But his Catholicism is so very Japanese. Correct, Kinoshita sensei?
yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. So very
In a
Japanese.
sense,
His
I
responses
should
are
say.
Japanese. And so is the case of Mishima. He's maybe nationalistic, but he is not American. But I mean, Murakami Haruki is American and is rejected by most of the Japanese.
Why?
He doesn't represent the tradition of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's appreciated more in the West and hardly anywhere in Japan. So, taking his cue from the spy thrillers of America, from American music, um, yes, I mean, he wants to be different, but that difference takes him out of the Japanese tradition.
You know what happens in India is just the opposite. If there's an Indian author who is appreciated in the West, he becomes a hero in India too.
Mm.
But apparently that is not happening in Japan, right?
No.
Mm, right. Now, one more question. At the moment, how much of interest do people have, students of literature, how much of interest do they have in Indian writing, in stories from India?
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So, literature in general have less attention in Japan. However, sadly, that is. However, there are growing interest amongst in literature on India or written by Indians. Today, I can see more translations getting made in Japan, and people, as we become familiar to India than before, there seem like Yuka Ishii, somebody who's published a book in 2018 titled as 100年泥. She also used a motif of India, the river of Ganga. So
No.
this
Adiyar.
Hmm?
Adiyar River.
Adia River, sorry. So this, like this recent publication, we see more people dealing with India as a very exciting country. And the way they narrate or they use images and symbols are not connected with this exotic India or snake charmer, elephant, etc. They would like to explore a little more in theme, narrative, and so on.
The story that we talked about, Yakunendoro, this was published in 1917
This is
and it has
100年泥.
not been translated. 2017, and it has not been translated. It is called 100 Years of Mud. 100 Years of Mud, and it talks about the flooding of the Adyar River in Madras, Chennai.
The writer?
And this
Yuka
Yuka
Ishii.
Ishii, 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 Yuka Ishii.
Mm.
And this story won the Aktagawa Award.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons for winning the award, they said that because she's a woman writing about India and using magic realism, the award is given. I don't know the worth of the story. I don't really understand, though. Uy has translated. I'll read out one paragraph if you want.
Yes, please.
This is about the flooding of the river.
Mhm.
A woman in a yellow sari pulls out a boy from the mud. So Ishi writes, a lady in her 40s in a yellow sari walking right in front of me suddenly pushed her right hand into the mountain of mud and said, "Oh my God, here I found." Loudly screaming, she pulled it out with one hand and with the other threw water on it from the puddle simultaneously. When she wiped it with her neck scarf, it was a boy of about 5 years old. That's the very poignant paragraph.
Yeah.
May not explain much, but it does show her own take of what she understands. She said, I don't understand Tamil, but what they are saying, I can feel it from my previous birth, something like that. So,
Would you like to add some more about it, about these writers or about contemporary writing, contemporary Japanese writing?
yeah, there are lots of things to say. Uy, would you like to say something?
Perhaps we could talk about how, well, it's a big topic though, how Japanese have imagined India in the literary texts.
Tenjiku.
Tenjiku or Heavenly Center.
Dozo. I can talk about it. You can talk about it.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So this idea of Tenjiku comes in the 8th century from China. Tenjiku means heavenly center. And India was seen as the heavenly center because it was the birth of Buddhism. And in the 8th century, Bodhisena from South India traveled at the age of about 30. Bodhisena Bhardwaj comes from the Pindola tribe, and he traveled to Japan through China. He didn't want to go to Japan, but he went to China to look for Bodhidharma. Mm, what is the name of the disciple of Buddha? Manjushri. He went to look for Manjushri, who was on Mount Wutai in the Tang dynasty. Now, when he went there for 1 or 2 years, he stayed, he couldn't find. Somebody told him that Manjushri is reborn in Japan. So he came through the embassy to Japan, and he met the reincarnation of Manjushri, which is very detailed and presented. I don't know which language they spoke, but they understood each other so well. And the emperor Shomu made him as the chief priest and asked him to open the eyes of the Buddha in which is that temple in Nara.
Horyuji? Horyuji.
No. Nara temple, where the eye opening of the eyes. Todaiji.
Oh, excuse me.
Todaiji temple. So in Todaiji, he seemingly, I don't know how far that is true, he had a 30 feet brush, which he opened the eyes by giving it, life literally, and saved the country from all kinds of famine and disasters and so on. So he lived there and in Nara, and he passed away there. So and he left a deep impact. That's a very long story. I have written on that at great length. But the idea of Tinjuku was very important. It was seen, the shift that took place because of the reincarnation of Manjushri from India to China to Japan gave a legitimacy to Buddhism in Japan. Otherwise, there was no legitimacy. So Tenjiku was something that people inherited in Japan without going to India, as a great land with great stories and with great ideas of enlightenment. I think I wrote about it, about Basho, though nobody will agree with me in Japan, that Basho's haiku, he said that when I observe something, there comes a point when I become one with the object of observation. At that point, I write my haiku. That is a very Indian concept. Though Basho never said anything about India. The technique is so very. And I consider Basho as one of the best writers of Japan. No equal. That right, Kirishita Sensei?
Yes.
So that tradition is there without going to India. I mean, Aktagawa wrote this story about the Buddha's the spider's thread, which is pulled by a convict, and who looks down, doesn't help other people, and the thread breaks. Buddha looks at it and says, "This fellow is so selfish," and breaks the thread. So Aktagawa, I don't think, though I have not researched, but I don't think he'd been to India. I may be mistaken, but
so if he hasn't been, right. So if he hasn't been to India, and if he's writing stories or poems that may give you the impression that there's this Indian influence, I was just wondering, it's because of the reading that he's done, the grooming, intellectual grooming that he's had. For instance, we have students of literature in India who write about daffodils, who write about England. They may not have been there at all. But because they've been studying all that, they're exposed to some names, some ideas, some concepts. So probably it's like that. Now, in your talk, there were lots of new ideas that have been presented, which we were not familiar with, and we would love to hear some more about it. And the names that you mentioned, they're not easy because Japanese names, you're used to them, but for us, they're very unfamiliar. So perhaps if you could list out those names and also the works that you've been talking about, that will be a great help. It's like
Definitely.
it's like the other way around, Indian names might be very difficult for the Japanese. So Japanese names are also a little difficult for us. We have a lot of people who are logged in, and if they would like to participate in the discussion, they can switch on their videos and, ask questions. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions that you would love to ask because it's all very new for us. So please switch on your videos and come onto the screen.
Be very
Yeah,
happy to hear from you. So
yeah. Ishtiaq is there. Ishtiaq is the one who made your poster, which you liked so
thank you
much.
very much, Ishtiaq.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful poster.
You're
Very
welcome.
nice.
They were so
I
Very
was
happy
nice.
just
with it. Yeah.
I was just looking for different book covers, the text covers of different books by these authors, and I just combined all these elements and like just made a poster
He
on that.
does a lot of research, he really scouts around for the right image. And he does a good job every time. Yes, Ishtiaq, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I like the conversation. I would have loved to know more about what these writers were really writing about, because when I was looking on one of these writers, they were writing a lot about philosophy and politics as well. Is there something that they like? Could you talk more about that? Because I was looking at this, even these posters and book covers, they're very philosophical, and also some topics of existentialism exists in both these writers as well. So, if you could, just talk about that a little bit. So,
Give me a specific thing.
uh, for example, was just he has a Yukio Mishima has a text called Sun and Steel, right? And
Yeah.
it's a biography.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I need
Mishima
to.
has written a
Mhm,
lot,
mhm,
and his writing, as he grows older, turns more political. I didn't want to get into that,
mhm.
and I referred to patriotism. It's a small novella, but very beautifully the writing. You may disagree with a lot of stuff that he does in the story, but his writing is really, really lyrical and powerful. I don't know whether Kinoshita Sensei will agree with that. He at times reminds me
Mhm.
of, I always forget that writer I mentioned to you, Tanizaki Junichiro.
Uh-huh.
In some places, his lyricism and his
Mm.
uh, writing, especially patriotism in the beginning, though it's a
Mhm.
very delicate topic, he does very political topic, but the lyricism
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
romance of death
Mm.
is captured very fantastically.
Mm. Yes, I
Never
think
heard,
so.
never read something like that.
Mm. But there is also a great difference between the Mishima Yukio and other Japanese writers. As you said about the his novel Patriotism and the young couple committed a suicide by harakiri, which I think symbolizes the combination of the, as you said correctly, political course or some sort of eroticism and death. So
That's right.
Mishima's standing point is, in a sense, quite unique, highly
Very
political.
unique. Yes,
So,
that is correct.
Nationalism, I should say.
Mm.
Mm.
if there is one text that you should like that you could suggest for us to read by
Mishima,
Mishima, yeah, as a to start with, because we're really unaware of both of these
Mishima, I
writers.
would suggest the third volume of the fertility story. What was the name I just mentioned to you? The Temple of Dawn. Temple of Dawn is a easy story to get into Mishima, and from there you can branch out and read so many things.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Debarati, good evening. How are you? Very nice to see you.
Thank you, sir. As you
Debarati
can
feeling
see,
very cold, huh?
yes, I'm feeling very cold. It's quite cold over here, actually.
Yeah? Uh-huh.
Yes, very cold, truly.
Okay.
Okay. I was just thinking of another trajectory, Okakura, for example.
Okakura Tenshin, huh?
Yes, Sokakura Tenshin, and the way he was talking about the pan-Asian kind of an idea in terms of religion and culture. So that is also another way of looking at India, possibly, and also China in a way as well. So
Undoubtedly. And
I would
his
want your
idea,
comment on it.
yeah. His idea of Asia as one comes from Sister Nivedita.
Mhm,
He came to India and he spent time there, and he understood about the idea of Asia as one, and that is the book he wrote.
mm,
But in the Asia is one, Japan becomes the center. That is a very important point. Not India.
mhm,
Japan becomes the center, though India is included.
mhm,
Japan, China, India, because Japan is seen as the custodian of
mm,
culture. And well, he did go to America. He had a lot of relationships in America as well, in the libraries and so on. But the idea of Asia is one is more of a socio-political tract. And so I didn't want to include
I understand.
Okakura Tenshin in Kinoshita Sensei. Would you like to say something on Okakura Tenshin?
Sorry, I'm not so familiar
I
about
see.
him, although he is very famous. But as you said, yes, Asia
He
is one.
he begins with
Ja-
his line with Asia is one. That's the first line. Asia is one. Now, how it is one is up
That
to
is
him,
important.
and he nuances it by claiming the strength of Japan as the focal point of unification at that time when
Not
India was
equal
fighting for its freedom.
partnership.
That's right.
Uh,
Thank you.
yes, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that he was a person who had not talked about only Buddhism. He had talked about Vedantic writings as well. So
Yes,
bringing in the Vedanta, not just the idea of Buddhism, was something which would have been interesting. That is why I mentioned him.
I see. No, he's a very interesting person to bring about this on the global stage. Though Sister Nivedita, who was French and was very much a part of the Indian tradition, was able to provide him with this understanding of Asia is one.
Uh,
That's my thinking.
Yes, I think that because Sister Nivedita came from Ireland and She
That's
was
right.
the disciple of Swami Vivekananda,
That is the
uh,
thing.
direct disciple of him. So, yes, there is this major influence. I understand that.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
I request
There are lots
everybody
of
else to
people I
switch on
can't see.
their videos. May I request everyone else to switch on their videos so that we can all get together on the screen? Oh, Roshan is back. Yeah, Roshan is back.
Roshan.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hi, Professor Mukesh. Hey,
Hi.
I'm there. How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Oh, great, great to listen to you. As
Sophie.
always,
Hi.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks for being there. Thanks, and we really appreciate
Yeah.
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
back in that action mode. Thank you, Uy, Dr. Uy. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Sophie,
sir.
you have a comment or a question? Please go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
First of all, I thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm a student from Soka University. I am from Cuba, so I am not really familiar with Indian literature, and I'm trying to study like Japanese literature right now. So it was really interesting to get to know many like subjects and a little bit more about the situation and how difficult is like translation of like Japanese works to like European languages, and especially like Indian literature, and to be more um, available for students. And like I just I found like many like interesting points, not just about Indian society, but also like the spiritual state, and also like religious state of like India, like many like Buddhist more like values like life and death. And I just like really found really interesting one of the things that you said, Professor, about like becoming one with the objects through observation. Because like I think that this is like a technique that not just like students but also like writers and even like translators like use when we are dealing with literature. We're dealing with the essence of the text. So like I think like these Japanese writer they were like able with their own like techniques, especially like this one that it reminds me to the first writer that it was like Kasuke Naka, about like his connection with India and like Buddhist texts, that he never went to India before, but like it's through this kind of connections, this like technique, like becoming one with the object. I just saw that like through this technique, writers are able to take like these like essence connected with their stories, and also the translators could do the same, because as they said at the beginning, like I can understand that like the translation of this text like is really difficult, because like there's also a connection with the language used that is a little bit like difficult to like separate, to translate, because like that's what we are trying to translate, is just not the words but also the essence, the sensation that the work is giving us. So I just saw that like the same way that these Japanese writers, they were able to take like this essence for like Indian society and spirit, like translator could also try to like use the same technique for people to get to connect with these works. And yes, many things.
Very good. Uy, would you like to respond to that?
Very briefly, yes, I'd like to. Thank you very much for your interesting comment. And yes, I believe the difficulty in representing what exactly the essence that writer has written about India or any motif is the key that's the difficulty for translators to catch, and in my case, translating to Japanese. In this particular short story, the difficulty lies in the fact that he lived in early 20th century. I do understand what he's saying, but as a Japanese language, it's a very vague language. Even with his quality of writings, the nuance that he seems to be conveying beyond what is written, is that what I need to catch as an essence, or do I need to translate literally, which loses perhaps what he really means? So that is a fun and a difficulty, I would say. So to translate, as a perhaps Professor Kinoshita would be able to share with you more in detail. But as far as I know, in Japan, Japanese translation into Japanese has been having tendency to literally translate, because the text should not be changed. It has to be translated literally as much as possible. But what I'm trying to do is to actually represent what seems to be the message in texts. Perhaps it is difficult to explain or very vague in talking, but would be clearer when you compare the translation from English to Japanese. How much essence my translation could capture, and would that convey what the writer would like to convey to the reader?
Yeah.
Something is always lost in translation, they say, but there is that essence in literature which cuts across boundaries. And perhaps that is why stories from India cut across to Japan and vice versa, and that is why they appeal. So I'm so glad you are doing this, and I'm so glad that you're translating Japanese stories into English to make them more accessible to readers across the world, because that is really something we need. Yes, Mukesh, you were saying something?
I was saying that English, when compared with Japanese, I'm not an expert in this matter, but in English, we have very exact words and less of them. As in Japanese, there are more inexact words and many, many more. So, and as we said, that there are oblique references to what has been said. What has not been said has to be understood more so than in English. English also has that component, but in Japanese, it is much more complicated in that sense. Kinoshita Sensei, comment please.
That's a very difficult question, but my impression is from the ancient literary text in Japan, some sort of ambiguity or connotation has been highly estimated. And now we hold the same sort of tendency. Don't you think so, Sensei?
I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why Haruki Murakami is not liked very much.
So he tries to do give the pre-translation.
That's right. The American way in Japan is not a workable way.
You know what we would really like is, we would like you to give us a talk on mainstream Japanese literature which is available in English. Some kind of a survey talk, that would really be welcome. And even if it's not mainstream, the emerging voices, the kind of work that is being written now, we'd appreciate that. So think about it, and we would love to have another session with you. Today you've
Thank
given
you.
us so much. Today you've given us so much to think about. So many new names, titles. Just make a list and send them to us. That'll be very nice. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So we need to wind up the session now. Would you like to say anything? Any closing remarks?
Well, would you like to say?
Please go ahead.
Uh, well, I think Japan is a beautiful country, and Japanese writers want to see this ethereal beauty in India. And but they're overwhelmed by the social and spiritual chaos. I mean, if I use a metaphor, Japan is like a combustion engine, and India has this chaos, but within the chaos, everything moves nicely. It's not that everything is gone; everything moves very nicely. And so, whether it is the working of Buddhist icons, or religion of the blood, or spiritual fusion, or social chaos, reading Japanese literature with Indian themes give you a feeling that India is important for Japanese literary tradition and for Japanese writers. How many more will write about it? That's another story. People shy away from India because either they don't know or they are too confused to say anything.
What about vice versa? Is there much Indian literature about Japan?
Hardly anything.
Why don't you call me over? I'll write a story about Japan,
Okay.
about Tokyo.
I sent you one story on Japan
Yes,
that I wrote and
yes,
which
yes, yes.
Haruka-san liked
Yes,
it
I
very
know.
much, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
published it in a
Yeah, it is
journal
very
which
nice,
does
very
publish
moving.
poetry,
Yeah,
short
yeah.
stories.
Mhm.
So,
And excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
Also, the poems that he has penned there
I
about
know.
Japan, okay, around Japan and everything. Professor Mukesh, we would love to have them.
okay.
We'd
Okay.
love
Yeah,
to hear them sometime. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
great.
Definitely.
Okay, so with that, we close the session. And once again, a warm thank you to Mukesh, to Ui, to the young man who's there on the screen, whose name I cannot read because it's in Japanese. So thank you very much. And thank you to all the people who are logged in. This session has been recorded and we'll put it up on YouTube and share the link. Right?
Thank you very much, Manju, for this wonderful opportunity. And
It was our
Roshan,
pleasure. It was
for
our
your
pleasure.
encouragement, and Kinoshita Sensei for your
And
questions, and Teramoto Sensei for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
And
much. It was a wonderful occasion,
Thank
and
you very
I'd be
much.
very happy to continue discussing about Japanese literature and
yes,
hear
that would be
your
very
feedback.
nice. Yeah. And keep up the good work, keep up the translation. In
And
2 weeks'
you.
time,
also, Professor
in
Mukesh and Dr. Ui, you've got to be here for the next Melow. Come
Okay,
what may.
okay, okay.
that's
We
going to be
missed
in
that.
Gujarat. That's going to be in
Yeah,
Gujarat.
yeah, Professor Mukesh, just plan it beforehand in advance. And Dr.
And
We want you also there.
we
Thank
have
you,
a
sir.
mini mellow. We'll have a mini mellow in Sikkim if you're interested.
You can call Kinoshita Sensei. He's a very smart professor of literature.
Yeah, you should bring him
Yes,
along.
yes.
Thank you very much.
You two
I
are welcome,
appreciate.
Professor. We'll wait for you. We'll
Okay,
certainly wait
okay,
for you.
Roshan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
Okay,
you.
thank you.
thank
Thank
you very
you.
much, and
Thank you
we'll
very
Thank
meet
much.
you. Good night,
Thank you
again
very
in
everyone.
much.
2 weeks'
Arigatou
time.
Bye bye.
gozaimashita.
Bye bye.
Arigato
Thank
gozaimashita.
you.
Bye-bye.
Arigato
Thank
gozaimashita.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.